Of this government shutdown. Boris Epshteyn is a conservative analyst and contributor for the Daily Caller, and back with us from Washington, NBC political reporter Casey Hunt. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Boris, let me start with you. Really, what is the point of this? What's being accomplished here? Because it doesn't seem like anyone is winning.
Absolutely nothing is being accomplished. It's a really big mistake by the Ted Cruz and Rand Pauls of my party. There's no positive in this whatsoever for them, specifically for somebody like Ted Cruz and maybe Rand Paul who want to run for president in 2016. This is a losing formula. You saw Newt Gingrich go through it, and he has tried to run for president several times and failed. So there's no upside for them. The only people really winning are people like Chris Christie, who are on the outside. He's a governor. He can say, hey, I wasn't a part of this.
Yeah. Casey, I want to bring you in because we want to know what happens now, specifically this morning as the Senate reconvenes at 9:30.
Well, the Senate's going to come back this morning, and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has already said that they're going to reject this latest gambit by the House to set up a conference committee. That, of course, is sort of it sets the stage for the House Republicans to argue that, hey, we actually want to be talking more about this, and it's the Senate that's rejecting our attempts to negotiate. But from the Democrats and the Senate's perspective, that's a no-win situation, and they've drawn their line in the sand, and they don't intend to negotiate any further at this point. So from what we can see, we're in for some more brinkmanship. Yeah, talk about no-win, Boris. You know, it seems like failure was not just an option, but as that deadline loomed, it was actually a strategy, but a bad one, right?
Yeah, it seemed like there was definitely going to be a shutdown. It seemed like there was no two ways about it. And now they have to come out of this somehow. No longer it lasts, the worse it is for my party. For
Any
the Republican
idea
Party.
how long it's going to last? They were talking maybe 4 days.
4 days to a week.
Yeah.
But if it lasts any longer than that, well, you have to really worry about the markets. And as the markets go bad, then people's stocks go down, and people start getting really upset. Because right now, the panic camp's cute, and we're concerned about some of the national parks. But when the market gets affected, that's what really the negative will come out.
Well, a lot of people being affected, some 800,000 people being furloughed. Casey, while we're in the throes of this government shutdown, it's important to point out that if the U.S. breaches its debt ceiling on October 17th, that might even be far worse than this, correct?
And you've seen that being played out throughout this government shutdown fight. And Republicans have always felt that on the one hand, they have potentially a better opportunity to get their fiscal priorities through on a debt ceiling fight. But as you say, it does risk the country's credit rating. And one thing we haven't seen yet so far in this fiscal debate is a major market crash or fluctuation or problem. And that's something that many of these freshman House Republicans who are leading this charge haven't really experienced before. And they're probably going to be under an intense amount of pressure as we head toward a potential default.
What are you hearing, Boris? I mean, because there's not much time between now and October 17th. I mean, we've got a government shutdown that we are in the throes of right now. Then you've got that other deadline looming that could cause, financial crisis globally, perhaps. Are folks in Washington, are they getting this?
No. They're not. They didn't get it last year. They didn't get it 2 years ago. They're not getting it now.
That is so frustrating to hear.
And it's really frustrating. They're getting paid while the government is shut down. To me, that is absolutely absurd. If you shut down the government, as your one job to do is to fund the United States government, you cannot be paid until the government is back working. This is a huge problem, and it sends a message throughout the world that the U.S. Congress cannot get its act together. And you know what? Right now, we're talking about the Congress. The president also, he does need to step in, show leadership, and find a way out, like Bill Clinton did in 1995.
Well, something has to be done. Casey, what are you hearing on that part? Are you hearing anything from the Obama administration?
There was definitely some sort of simmering tension on Capitol Hill late last night as we were heading towards this shutdown that the president is going to have to get more involved. Obviously, we saw him speak to the American people yesterday on this issue. But from what we can tell, this is still a back and forth between Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and House Speaker John Boehner. And at this point, all we can see is that one of those two people is going to have to give, and the president is sort of staying out of the day-to-day negotiation.
It almost sounds like politics as usual. Yeah, okay. Thank you both for being with us today. We really do appreciate it. And just ahead, Caroline.